Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, I've got an exciting new model kit to share with you guys today. This is the brand new 1/20th scale Ferrari SF70H from Tamiya. It is a brand new kit from the ground up. It represents the Ferrari that they raced in 2017 at the Australian Grand Prix. So there again, it's one of the newest type Ferraris out. Now, I was going through the kit, absolutely beautiful inside, super detailed, and should be a great kit to put together. Now, this kit is just being announced right now at the Nuremberg Toy Show, and from what I understand, it's probably going to be due out, worldwide in early summer. So look for it then. Now, because it is a gloss paint job, and I love the way Tamiya spray cans work just right out of the can, we're going to be using these three basic colors to do the majority of the build. And they're TS49 bright red, TS26 pure white, and TS29 the semi-gloss black. That'll represent probably about 85–90% of the actual paint job, and there'll be a few other colors that they'll call out that we'll airbrush those, and I'll point those out as we go along. What I'll do is I'll quickly just kind of break down the kit for you, and then we'll start building. So very excited to do this kit, so let's get started on it. Okay, we've started off gluing our first parts together on this kit, and as you can see, I've put a few of the braces in the middle here, and all of these parts will just literally click together. We're going to glue them all, of course, as well, and then we will glue this portion into place here, and finally there'll be this last little piece that'll get glued up front here. Now this represents the bottom of the vehicle. Now, before I do any of this painting here, there's quite a bit of masking and other painting I need to do first, and hopefully you can see this on here. There's a demarcation line here that I'm very happy that Tamiya put this faint little line in here, and that is going to be our masking point because the entire bottom of this vehicle is black. So we want to work around this red, and trying to get it without that line is going to be really tough. So we're going to take our Tamiya flexible tape, and we're going to mask off all these pieces, put them all together, paint it. It's mainly just painting this black, as well as the inside of this black, as well as the bottom of some of these pieces. And I'm going to put all this together, tape it up, paint it, because I do the painting outside because it's a spray can. And then I'll come back and show you what it looks like once all this has been put together. Okay, you can see I've got quite a few of the parts glued together here now, and we painted the internal parts the black color that it needed to be. But I'm actually going to hold off on painting this line right now. They want you to start painting red and black all at the same time at this portion of the build, and I think it's just going to be kind of difficult, especially gluing parts on that are already painted. I'm going to try to go ahead as far as I can before we have to start painting any parts of the body, so we can do that as one continuous paint job. I think it's going to be a little bit easier. As we go forward, I keep checking the instructions to see if there's any crazy parts that are going to just be really tough to go ahead and mask off. But so far, so good on that. Now, the next step we need to work on is the seat. We've sprayed that with our semi-gloss black. We're going to let that dry. We're going to put our decals on it, and then we're going to hit it with Tamiya's TS80, their flat coat. And it's not 100% dead flat, so it should have some nice knock down most of the sheen, but still make it look like and also seal the decals in. That's the other thing we're worried about as well. So we're going to go ahead and start working on the decals on that, and then the next couple of steps after that are assembling some of the first fins. And there's quite a bit of little pieces and stuff, so we'll work on that. Now those we probably will paint separately, and we'll paint all this the red color that it needs to be, put the carbon fiber decals on, because there's quite a few carbon fiber decals, and leave those as little sub-assemblies to the side, and then we can just scratch the paint off the part that connects to it, make it a little bit easier. So work on the seat, and then I'm going to come back and work on the first of things, but I'll show you this as we progress through them. Okay, as you can see, we've assembled most of the monocoque here, and it's all one piece now. And we've also gone ahead and glued up all these little pieces that make up these little winglets slash louvers. I'm not quite sure what they're called. We took all the time to painted the exact parts that we needed to, plus we applied the carbon fiber decals on the inside as well. And I think those look really well. But now we're at the point, because we've attached quite a bit of the pieces like the air intake and some of these other little pieces in here, the next part of the assembly is to attach these on the inside. And because of that, I think painting that black line will be kind of difficult. So as you can see, we put one coat of TS49, the bright red, over the entire vehicle here. We're going to let that fully dry, hit it with another coat, let that fully dry, and then we're going to shoot it with TS13 clear coat. And I find that the clear coat will make the masking that much easier on it. So we'll clear coat the entire thing, come back, and you can still just barely make out that line. I sanded it slightly because I didn't want it too raised, but we'll hit the black line right at that point. Let that fully dry, and then we can go ahead and attach these side pieces. And with that portion right there, we can actually start to move on to the rest of the body that's walking around. So I'm going to take care of the painting right now, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, we have the black on the bottom now, and we've attached the little pods. And with all of that in place now we can go ahead and glue in all of the A-arms that are going to hold the front wheels on. And just doing a little dry fitting here, and you can see they literally just pop right into place here. And that is true of all these little fins and things right on it. So what we can do is we can go ahead, I have to sand these down a little bit. I was just cutting them off the sprue, but kind of give you an idea what was next on it. Then once we get that done, we can start working on the gearbox. And the gearbox is, I've just glued these two pieces together. We'll go ahead and paint that up the black that it needs to be. And you can just attach this little winglet underneath here. And this will actually just all plug right into the back of it too. So we also have the wheel here too that'll get attached onto these A-arms once all that gets sanded as well. Now this is just the inner portion of the wheel. We have the outer portion of the wheel, you know, that'll get painted silver. This has a poly cap inside of it, as well as the brake vents to, you know, pump air over the brakes to keep them cool. So I will go ahead and start putting all these front A-arms on, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, we've got all of the front suspension arms on, as well as we started putting on the little area, like the camera and some of the little fins back here, as well as these little exhausts, or air intakes I should say, on those. So all of that has been fitted into place. We also gave it one more coat of gloss, kind of just seal everything in together right there. I probably will wet sand one more time. I've been using 3000 grit paper, wetting it down and then sanding and buffing it out real smooth, and then putting another coat of clear on. Try to get as deep a finish as possible for this car. So now that we have that finished up, we are still working on the rear suspension arms now. So I have a few more pieces to put onto the rear transmission box here, and those pieces are right here. These are going to get painted up silver. So we've sprayed them with a gloss black for right now, and we're going to use the Vallejo silver on it, and that'll give it a nice deep finish. Most of this is not going to be seen, but a little bit of it can be, so we want those to look really good. So once we get all of those done, we'll attach that to here. We have a new little base plate that we just started working on as well, that'll actually slide right up inside here and get mated into the gearbox. And then of course, once all of that has taken place, there's one more arm that holds all this together. Then we can mount it all to the back of the vehicle, or the front of the vehicle that we were just working on. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. Oh, and after we get all that done too, we also have the inner portion of the wheel, which this basically represents like the brake that you'll be able to see through the back Okay, let me show you all the different components I've been working on now. Now, as you can see, we've started on the pan, and we're putting on the carbon fiber decals, and we have to use a little bit more mark fit than you'd probably normally, because there's quite a bit of these little bumps and things that you want the carbon fiber to lay down over. We've also just placed the monocoque into the front here as it would fit, and then of course the rear end would slide right into about here, so it gives you a general size of the entire vehicle. I've also went ahead and glued together the three pieces that make up the cowl. And as you can see right here, we've done the white, and we've now masked over all this too, making sure you also mask the edges too, because you don't want to have to, you know, go back and have to repaint all that. And this is going to be important, especially for those decals. Now, this little bit of white right here is going to get painted red, and it'll all just blend together. I'm going to do a little bit more sanding to make sure it's just ultra smooth before we do paint it. And since we're talking about that too, I've also gone ahead and painted up the wheels using Vallejo's silver color. And we have our tires too. It's very unusual, these tires. These tires actually smell like real rubber. When you do get your kit and open it up, smell the tires. It's very amazing. They might actually be real rubber for all I know. And I'm going to go over all of this with a sanding stick. We got to get this parting line out of the middle of the wheel, and we'll rough them up a little bit, just like, you know, as if they've gone over the track. So this is the next group of things we're going to work on. We're going to work on putting the rest of the carbon fiber decals on the pan. I'll take this off to show you then, and we'll paint up the cowl. This will get snapped into place here, and you can see that's how this carbon fiber piece mates up inside of there as well. And that's what I was talking about, how you can barely see any of the exhaust, but you know it's in there. We'll finish up the wheels and tires, and then we should be able to start attaching all these pieces together, and then we can start working on the front and back wing. So I'm going to take care of that right now. We'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, we finished painting up the rear cowl here, and I've temporarily attached it to the monocoque. And you can see this is not attached permanently at all. We just put it into place to kind of give you guys an idea. First of all, I'm very impressed about just the size of this vehicle. I always forget how much bigger these 20th scale kits are. Before we put anything else on that though, or put it together and glue it, I should say, we're going to use our 3000 grit paper and just really go over the entire surface here and wet sand it down. Make sure there are no flaws, that we have a really nice surface on it. Put a couple of coats of TS13 on, clear coat, and then we'll be able to put our decals on, because there's a lot of decals on this kit and we really want them to really stick out. Once we get all of that done, we are going to attach it to the floor pan here. And you can see there's 4 little screw holes in here, and with that comes 5 little screws and a screwdriver that will attach the whole thing together, and that really keeps everything nice and tight. Our wheels, we are working on sanding down that center seam, getting those look really nice. Now there are some decals that we have to put on here, the Pirelli P0s. That might be a little bit difficult, just getting to go around this compound curve, but we'll try those out as we go along here. Overall, though, I have to say I am very impressed with the fit on this kit. There are so many times that it's, you know, I look at it and I go, oh man, that's going to be a tough thing to put together, and it literally clicks together. And I'm really impressed how well it's gone. So knock on wood, hopefully it'll keep going, and hopefully we don't have any problems with the decals going forward, but really enjoying the build overall. So I'm going to go ahead, do the wet sanding, polishing, and all that, and then we'll attach it to the floor pan. Maybe put the wheels on right now, or excuse me, the tires on. We'll see about that. See if they're what the next steps on. Then we can start working on the rear wing, and the front wing, and we'll get that all taken care of. Okay, I've kind of jumped a little bit ahead here, and that is mainly because the parts that I did install on the vehicle are very simple and easy to take care of. To start off with, we've attached the lower pan, this portion right here. It covers the entire bottom of the vehicle. We did have to carbon fiber it up with the decals that came with the kit. After we let those dry and clear coated them, there are 5 screws on the bottom that just screw the entire thing together. Then up and through here we have the barge boards, and the barge boards are actually very simple too. There's actually made up of just 4 total parts. You paint the entire thing white, put this mask on, this shape right here, which isn't provided with the kit. Then paint the entire thing black, peel off the mask, and you have this piece right here, as well as this. This is half red, half black, so another very simple thing to install. And then they just glue right to the very back of the vehicle there. Now, you can see I've installed the tires and wheels on it right now, and those are just temporary. Those we've just put on strictly to show you how the vehicle is starting to come together. I am going to start to decal it, and after we decal it a bunch of times, we really want this gloss paint to be really shiny. So we have to put lots of coats of gloss on it, so we don't want any gloss on the tires at all. So we'll pop those off in a few minutes. And speaking of decals, we started decaling up the front wing, and these are made up of little multiple decals, as you can see on here. I'm not completely done with the entire thing, but I thought I would stop in this portion of it and kind of show you. We will show more of the decals going on to the actual body. So this part right here, once it's done, it will literally just snap into place here with a tiny bit of glue, and just like that, and you have that portion done. And I've also gone ahead and assembled the rear wing. Now the rear wing, although there's a lot of color going on right here, it's actually not very difficult to assemble this. It was a little bit of masking around with the red. These two white pieces are separate pieces, so we can paint those. And this last piece right here, we just painted completely white, did the mask, and then painted our black under. Now this part I did airbrush because using the spray can can usually force a lot of paint under the mask, and it has a tendency to bleed under. So if you mask it with Tamiya masking tape and then you just use Tamiya's semi-gloss black, it does a really good job. And then once we get that decaled up, we'll be able to pop that right into place here. Hopefully it'll stick here. It definitely requires glue on this piece. I've been kind of messing with it. Well, you get the idea. It'll stay. Once we put the glue on there, it'll stand in place. I also did put the little yellow stripe decals up on top there to start off. What I'm going to do now is we'll take all the wheels and all the pieces off there, and we'll begin the decaling process, starting with the front and the sides. We'll work our way around, and then final thing we'll try to do is this piece right here. This is that big long flare of decal. That's why that is still white. And yes, there's a little bit of overspray on the edge right there. Actually, not even overspray. It's just like a little mess up on the paint, but that's getting covered by the decal, so I don't think that'll show up at all. So let's take this all apart again now and start putting on the decals. First thing we're going to decal up is going to be the side of the rear wing here, and it's very nice that Tamiya has taken the decals, and this is one decal, so we don't have to worry about getting the alignment straight. We want everything to be just perfect, and that is going to fit right in this area here. So what we're going to do is we're going to soak it in water, and then we're going to apply a very liberal amount of Mark Fit Strong over the entire surface here, and that way it'll give us a little bit more time to motion around the decal so it doesn't immediately start to adhere. And then we can get it just the way we want it, and then we'll apply another coat on the outside of it and come back in after about 5 minutes and kind of burnish it down. So I'm going to put it in the water now, and I'll be back in a couple minutes to put on the decal. Okay, so we're putting a little bit of Mark Fit on here. And then we should be able to slide this into place. Now, this is the only little difficult thing that I was kind of thinking about as we did this, and we'll have to approach it and see how they dry. There obviously are some little louvers up on the top there, and I don't know if we should go ahead and slice the decal after it dries or what, to try to get them to wrap around in there. Okay, I did have to go in there and slice the V and the shell symbol with an X-Acto knife. Then we've put a couple more coats of Mark Fit on there, and it's getting to wrap around those little louvers. The other side wasn't much of a problem because of the shell and the V were already, are taller, so the power fits right underneath there. Now we're going to let that dry completely. Now I'm in the process of putting on the front decals. Now I've put on about 3 coats of Mark Fit Strong, and we're gradually just pulling any and all of the air bubbles out of it by just using a cotton swab. And you can see, hopefully you can see pretty well, that they lay down very, very smoothly and just look like they're actually painted onto the vehicle. Now we are going to clear coat it with TS13 again, but we're going to wait and make sure they're completely dry and completely air bubble free. And we're going to go over and finish up doing the rest of the decals. Probably won't show any more of the decaling on it because it is pretty straightforward. Just putting them into place. If there's anything unusual that we run into, I'll point it out to you at the end of the segment. Okay, you can see I've got the decals into place on here now, and you want to be very, very conscious of all of these four big ones right here, and that's because they are on some very crazy compound curves that you know, decals flat to start off with. So you want to keep applying Mark Fit Strong, and then just gradually with a cotton swab just keep working the air bubbles out, doing a little bit like that, going back over it with another coat to always keep it soft, so this way we don't have any tearing or anything on it, keeping them wet. And you can see that gradually the bubbles will start to come out, and the thing will just wrap around any type of crazy surface, including this giant bump right here. So also, another quick thing, as we put on the Scuderia Ferrari symbol on here on the side, you'll notice on the instructions that this overhead shot, that they are not equal to each other. So keep that in mind when you go to put them on, that they are not, you know, exact same side of the vehicles you would expect on it. I'm not quite sure why, but that's the way it's called out in the instructions, so that's how we'll put it on the vehicle. And the other plus about using Tamiya's spray cans is you'll see that the red decal paper, as it blends right in up here, is the exact same color as the TS49 bright red. So that makes a really, really nice thing, so you don't have two color reds on the same vehicle. Okay, we've finished applying all of the decals now, as well as I started putting on the mirrors, the little antennas, this little fin up front here, and I've also attached the front and rear wing. So now we got to do a little bit of cleanup and make sure you get rid of all these water spots on here, because we're going to put probably about 2 or 3 coats of TS13 clear coat to seal in all the decals. We also want to polish in between each one of them using the 3000 grit paper, and probably even going up to like a 6000 grit to really polish the surface really, really well. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time getting rid of all the little watermarks on here from putting on the decals, and then we'll start clear coating it, and we'll come back, and the last thing we'll have to do is just put the wheels on. Well, here we are. Here is our completed model. And we will first give you a little 360 view of the entire build. And tell you guys a little story. I got this kit about 2.5 weeks ago in anticipation of the Nuremberg Toy Show that this was being announced. And I opened up the box, saw the kit, was thrilled to death because it was a Ferrari Formula 1 car. We haven't seen a new one of those in quite a while, and very excited because I personally happen to like Ferrari and the Formula 1 racing. But as I looked at the box and looked at all the parts inside, and kind of psyched myself out a little bit, to be honest. I looked at it and I thought maybe I'm a little bit over my head for this type of build. So about 4 or 5 days went by, and I finally said, well, I got to start on this thing. I got to get it ready for the announcement. I started it up, and to my complete shock, and I should have known better, the kit just literally fell together. Everything that you would have expected to fit just the way it does, because it's a Tamiya kit, is exactly the way the kit went together. Any tiny little parts that you thought, wow, that's going to be tough to put on, completely the opposite. It all went together. And in fact, I will definitely give this a recommendation, even if someone who hasn't had a lot of experience building cars or glossy finishes. That is one of the reasons that I actually did Tamiya spray cans. I wanted to show that the average person walking into the hobby store with just a couple of spray cans and the model kit can produce a beautiful, beautiful display piece. And really, really hats off to Tamiya on this build. It's just an incredible, incredible model. I'll also give you a little bit of an overhead view of the build. Now, from what I've been told, the model is due out late spring, early summer. And the yen price on the side of the box is 50,000 yen, which, based on from what I've seen in past, I'm guessing, and this is strictly a guess, I haven't seen a retail yet. In the United States, I'm guessing the retail will probably be in about the $80 range. But for the quality and for just the overall workmanship, just a wonderful kit, and well worth the money if you want an absolute beautiful model when it's done. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.